Hey, Internet! This is the best game ever. Crocodile game. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to talk today about a blog post that I read a few months ago. Well, indirectly about the blog post. I read this blog post that was written by Scott Adams. And Scott Adams, for those who don't know, is the creator of the comic strip Dilbert. I was a fan of Dilbert when I was a little kid. This is weird. I started reading comics when I was, 6 years old, which is pretty normal, but the comics I read were all newspaper comics. So I read a lot of Calvin and Hobbes, Baby Blues, Foxtrot, Dilbert, stuff like that. And I was a really big fan. I would read, I would sit there and I would read these whole comic books of these newspaper comics, and I have a diary entry that says, I read a whole comic book in a month. It's really exciting. Wait, I'll find that diary entry. Just a sec. Okay, here we go. Here's my diary, my childhood diary. February 16th, 1999. I finished reading a whole comic book in a month. Here, I'll show you the entry. There it is, right there. I finished reading a whole comic book in a month. Yeah. I was pretty proud. So I was a big fan of the comics in my youth, as they say, and I actually wrote a letter to Scott Adams once. I had my friend Haley over, and we were reading Dilbert, which we, little 6-year-olds learning about how offices work and businesses, and we decided we were going to write him a letter. We actually wrote an email, because, it was the late 90s, that's what you do. And so we wrote him an email. I forget exactly what the email said, but it was something like, "Hey Scott, I really like your comics, they're great, we're kids, okay, bye." And he responded, and he said, and I remember this specifically, he said, "Dear Leah and Harley," he spelled her name wrong, Harley, "thank you for your kind words from Scott," something like that. And that was really, really exciting, because to me he was famous, he was the writer of Dilbert, the comic, and that was really exciting. So, jumping ahead, 11 years, I read this blog post. I'm not going to get into what the post was about, but I was very offended by it. I'll put I'll put a link to the post in the doobly-doo if anyone wants to read it, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I want to talk about is, now what? Because, I was very, very offended. It wasn't just oh, we disagree about something. It was I am horrified by what this man is saying, and I have lost all respect for him. And so, that was disappointing. But then the next day I go to read the comics, and it's oh, I'm reading the comics, there's Dilbert, Dilbert's funny. But then I feel guilty about that. Is it okay for me to still find Dilbert funny after the author of Dilbert has put this horribly disrespectful post out there into the world, or done something that really offended me? And it got me thinking, is it okay to like the art of people who you disrespect? So Hitler was a painter. I think that's pretty common knowledge. I think most people know that Hitler was a painter. He applied for art school, he didn't get in, and then he became evil. Or maybe he was already evil, but he was a painter. And his paintings are generally considered to be pretty awful, and I'm not sure if they're in the public domain. I'll put one up, right here. But say you happen to just, genuinely like Hitler's paintings. You think that they're fantastic artwork. You look at them and you're like, that artwork moves me, it inspires me, it's beautiful. Would it be okay to have one of Hitler's paintings, or a print, up in your home? Because it's just art. There's no particular political message in it. It's not political art. So imagine you get one of the paintings, you buy a print, you put it up right in your living room above your couch, and then you have a guest over, a friend, and they come in and they look at the painting and say, "Wow, what a fantastic painting, where'd you get it?" And you say, "Oh, Hitler painted it." People might react weirdly to that. But why? Why is that weird? Why is it considered a weird thing? It's not like you have, a big Nazi pride flag up or anything. It's nothing like that. It's just a painting. And I don't know the answer to this. I don't know if it's okay if enjoying the art of someone you disrespect, or someone who you are offended by, or somebody who is evil, is okay or not. And if anyone has any opinions on this, I'd be really interested to hear what they think, because I really want to know if it's still okay for me to enjoy Dilbert.